Shalom and good day all, this is Tehillim29 back again for another Future State Fool's Gold review, and this time we're going to be covering two more titles. The Next Batman, which rolls in at around $14.55 in currency conversion, and of course Wonder Woman issue 2. Now the Next Batman is issue 3 and we'll be beginning with that first. As you can see, I'll be rating by cover, art and story. And how much I think they're worth. So, time to get started. Well, let's start off with this cover. Does this cover really help with the story? Well, not completely. And it doesn't really cover, well, some of the things that happen within the story. So, for this, I gave the cover 6 out of 10, to which I believe it's worth $1.25 in Australian dollars. So, it's got big shoes to fill to meet up in getting the $14.55 out of me, and it's not on a very good start. Let's move into the internal art. I'll show you some art around the beginning and also around the middle, because there's two more stories to cover in this. Alright, this is around the beginning of the story. I do enjoy the art in this, and this art did sort of remain pretty consistent. I'll now move to around the middle of the story. As you can see, I did actually enjoy the art in this story, but I also gave the art 6 out of 10, which I believe it was worth $1.25. But what about the story? Well, this story does sort of like catch up from where it was last time. And to be personally honest, I wouldn't trust Jason Fox as Batman. Give him his own identity, and yet maybe I would consider it. Of course, in the cast of characters, we did get a lot in relation to the Fox family, plus a villain which sort of felt unnamed a bit. And another problem too that I found with this story, why aren't you putting in the locations? Right, you did this with the last one, you didn't learn from your mistakes, and if you don't intend on learning from your mistakes, why the hell should I bother picking up your comic run for when it comes out in March, April or May? You've sown in a terrible narrative here, right? Because as I am the reader of this comic, yeah, it's nice to show it in the panels, but it's also nice to know when you have it show up on screen. You're meant to be a big, famous star in the industry, Ridley. It's not shown in this. Alright? Didn't you, in your career, when you did 12 Years a Slave, indicate locations up on the screen so that the viewer knew where things were taking place? Give at least a time as to when it was taking place? I'm pretty sure you would have, even though I've not seen the film myself. That is something I even enjoy in films. Right? If you can't bring that across to the comic, get out of the comic industry. You're not worth it. I'd rather put up with terrible Bendis storytelling than this. And that says a lot. At least in a lot of his storytelling, in Bendis' storytelling, he did manage, after a little bit of time, to put in time, location, and give a better idea of who the cast of characters were. In this, you're sort of failing. And failing effortlessly. To which I gave the story 0 out of 10, to which it's worth 0 cents. Gotta be blunt about it, and that's the point of Fool's Gold. I'll now move on to the backstories. So, time to move on to the second story in this, and this deals with the Outsiders, and I really enjoy the art that's done here for Duke Thomas, as well as Katana. I do think it's a little bit better than the last issue, to which we last saw her, but in the process we also get to see Black Lightning. So, a very clear presentation as to who the cast is in this, as well as where some of these things are taking place. With this story, it will be rated on both art and story. So let me show you another page or two from this story from The Outsiders. As you can see, there's quite a bit of action to this scene. And I also enjoyed the story as well as the dialogue. The writer took the time to put in the right dialogue bubbles and also allowing space for the art to do the talking and a bit of breathing for the artist. To which I gave the art 7 out of 10, to which I believe it was worth $1.50. Now, for the previous story, it did reach, or the first story gained a total of $2.50. This story, I really enjoyed what happened here. I felt it improved a little bit more too. Maybe more so than the last time we saw the Outsiders in this book. And in that, I gave it a total of 7 out of 10, to which it was worth $1.50. Some of the reasons is that we had a good, clear understanding of who the cast was in this, including some of the people that these characters were looking after, being good heroes as they are. And we also got a good indication of locations, such as Katana's Keep and the safe house where Duke Thomas was. I really enjoyed that in the story, and it's worth the 7 for each. Thank you very much. At least it's nice to get something decent out of this story run. Now to move on to the third story. As we begin to move on to the third story, this art in this was as good as the previous story, and I really enjoyed that. Now this is some of the art at the beginning, as well as we've got direct location of where this takes place. Thank you very much to the writer who is working on this. Alright, I appreciate what you're doing here. So let's move to something towards the end of this story, and I'll carry over to what I thought the art and the story was worth. As you can see in this part, we encounter Astrid Arkham, who's by the side of one of the characters of Dr. Phosphorus, and it's really nice to see this character actually bloom a little bit more. It's a big improvement, and I really hope that the writer who worked on this series also went back to Peter J. Tomasi, as this is a character connected to him, and also spoke with him of how they could improve the character. And I think they've done a really good job, and it's sort of shown that here, as it gives this character a bit of redemption. Not just Astrid Arkham, but Astrid Arkham seeking redemption for some of the villains that are up against the army of the magistrate. For this, I gave the art 7 out of 10, to which I believe it was worth $1.50. For the story, the creator of this really took the time to introduce locations such as the shipyard and Wayne Manor. So we did get to return to Wayne Manor. We got a good understanding of who the cast of characters were. They didn't forget that, and I really appreciate that. Of course, we encounter the Peacekeepers, who the Arkham Knights are up against. And I thought they did a really fantastic job here. And thank you very much for what you did here. And it's worth the 7 out of 10, to which overall it gets a total of $3. The total of $3 was also for the last one. And as you can see, this reached probably under the Met criteria for this in regards to how much it's actually worth in Australian dollars. Now, let's move on to Wonder Woman. Now it's time to finally move on to Wonder Woman. Now, did the cover help in any way with the story? No. Nope. It sort of sucked. It stunk. This did sort of have quite a bit of potential, but any potential of it has sort of slipped and fallen. And it slipped and fallen to a 4 out of 10, to which I believe it was worth 90 cents. Now, let's cover some of the internal art. Starting with around the beginning, I'll now move to something around the middle. This is around the middle, and now we'll move towards the end. And this is, of course, towards the end. Even though the art was okay, I still gave it a 4 because of the story, and it didn't really help. So, again, it got 4 out of 10, to which I believe it was worth 90 cents. But what about the story? Where are some of the places that this takes place? Of course, the beginning lets us know that we start off in the underworld. Then we later on, due to some stupid reasons, end up in Themyscira. It's not really clever as to how the character ended up in Themyscira after their encounter with who they encountered in the underworld. Did they sell their soul to this person? I got no idea. And that's the way it sort of came across. But what about the cast of characters? Well, the only known characters in this are just Yara and Kaipora. And this is why it also led me to giving the story 4 out of 10, to which I believe it's worth 90 cents. Nice attempt, Joelle Jones. But I am glad about one thing that you did change in this issue, and that's not showing the area of Gehenna. It didn't really work well in the first issue, and this is why in this correction of the second issue of not having Gehenna show, it did make it that little bit better, but the score still remains the same. Well, until the next lot of videos come up covering the DC Comics Future State Fool's Gold, I hope you're enjoying the content, and I look forward to any of your comments of what you thought of this series. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Until then, let's keep it colourful. And if you've now reached the end of this video, you are awesome.